Hey, good morning, everyone. 44 minutes after the hour. I hope you guys are doing well on this Wednesday. I'm trying to keep up with the calendar. It's kind of off this week. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to Storm Talk. Update on the block setup today where we're going to track, of course, these downpours, which do have some very heavy rain with them. There is a still low in severe risk. We're going to talk about that in a little more detail in the next few minutes. And, of course, everyone's talking about the tropics in Lee that's been out there into the Atlantic, and soon to be, I think, as well, Margot that we'll have out into the Atlantic. So the weather quite active, but for us, really, it's relatively quiet compared to what other parts of the country have had to deal with. So hope you guys are doing well. I know some of you needed some rainfall. You're getting some here this morning. Just be careful traveling. I see all your comments there on Facebook, Twitter, or X, and on YouTube. Hello, Kentucky Girl. Let's see. Tim, make sure, are you looking at you're asking about the radar? Make sure, it's real important, guys, on the Wave Weather app. When you load that app, this will really help you out. And it depends on how long you've been an app user. Depends on how some of this functionality is. When you first load up the app, first off, the blog is on there. That's easy, convenient. You go into the radar function. Make sure at the bottom right, there's a little button at the very bottom right. You're not going to be able to see that because I'm too far away. Just make sure it says past, not future. If it says future and that little gray button under the three dots, the far bottom right, then you're looking at a future cast, not the current radar. So make sure it says past. Hopefully that will help you out. Once you switch around, sometimes it'll get stuck on one or the other and it may look like a radar, but there's two different functions there. So I hope that helps. It's nice to have a future cast, but it's also really great when you have the radar to look at, right? All right, so speaking of that, let's get right into the setup for what's out there now. It actually doesn't look too bad in downtown. This is looking off to the east toward Oldham County into up the Ohio River and Spaghetti Junction. Kind of some wavy looking clouds passing through. The downpours have been popping, though, and it doesn't seem like every place has gotten some rain today, but those that have, boy, it's really come down hard. And I'm speaking on this just because of personal experience this morning on my way in, having to deal with one of the downpours that popped right there in the middle of Jefferson County. It sounded like, the raindrops, anytime there are large raindrops like that, it's a good sign that it's not going to last too long. But it's also a sign that you're dealing with a very high amount of moisture in the air. And, it just absolutely poured. Traffic came to a stop. It was a mess for a while there. And again, it was right in the middle of Jefferson County, but it didn't really last very long. Formed, and it's already gone at the moment. And it missed just about every rain gauge that I could see there. Some about, I would say the Highlands a little more than 1/10 of an inch. I would estimate where I was at, though, was easily about 1/4 of an inch or more out of that as it moved through. So even though these are small, they will be allowed as it moves through. You're going to get a little bit of lightning. These are not severe that are moving through, though, and these will not be severe for the next few hours. These are just heavy rainmakers we're talking about, and you certainly see a little more of a concentration of that. Glenda, I think I saw you were in here a second ago. I saw you were down into Bardstown. Let me know. I think you said you got a shower there. You're going to pick up some heavier rain as you head toward Bardstown at the moment. Same story all the way through LaRue County. I mean, all LaRue County, you guys are really getting walloped right now with some heavier rainfall. And again, rainfall rates about 1.6 to up to 2 inches per hour is the rate. But they're moving. They're moving. So that will limit on any kind of flooding issue here. But here's the thing. The front has not passed through yet. Not yet. We've got to wait another, I would say, 12 hours before it can move through. And until that happens, there is the chance that additional storms can certainly fire and develop. We haven't seen a lot of sun in the zone that matters, though. To the west, we got a lot of cloud cover generally now along I-65. There are a few little breaks right there. That's basically, here's the front. Easy to see the front, right? Pretty much a clearing line moving east to St. Louis. This is the area, though. Can it heat up in time to produce one more round of showers and thunderstorms as we head into this evening? Yes, that's possible. The only thing working against it is the wind shear in general here in this area. It's not very high. It's just right there to where you can get some storms that can produce a brief wind gust of maybe up to 50 miles per hour. I don't see too much of a hail issue. I do not see a tornado issue. So it's mainly just a brief wind threat that may develop. And we'll monitor that in case one or two get to that limit this afternoon. But so far, these are just rainmakers. Now, if we were to end up seeing that clear zone just west of Louisville here kind of expand a little more than what is indicated, and we get a little more heating involved, then okay, maybe we'll change the narrative. And if anything, we would add hail into that mix. But right now, I think we're just dealing with a period of gusty winds and some heavy rainfall. Severe risk will stay with us. Generally, everyone watching right now is in the zone, but it's the low end risk of severe weather. So it's just a very minor issue overall. So I don't want to play this up too much. Future cash shows the current round moving through. You'll see the heating, kind of modest heating, and then you'll see this second little wave that will form this evening right there in Indiana. And you see it's not too exciting, right? It's only just a few cells that try to get going, but it only takes one or two to produce some gusty winds. So I don't want to ignore it completely. Just know that we're aware of it. We're watching it. And as you watch the evening shows tonight on Wave, just check in and see where we're at on the status of that. And especially if you're in Indiana and West 65, I think that's a little more where they would pop and then weaken after that. Then we'll get into a little bit of fog later tonight. Tomorrow is the Cards game. The issue here will be just during the day, cloud cover may linger for a while. I don't see much in the way of rainfall, but the clouds should begin to break up as we head towards sunset, getting close to kickoff, which is good. But I think overall, very good tailgating setup for those heading to watch the Cards take on Murray State. I think it's going to be a nice, comfortable game, a nice little cool breeze from the northwest, and some cloud cover that will begin to break up. So it should be a nice sunset. So really not a bad setup at all for the home opener. Then we get into, of course, the Tropics, which is going to tie back around to our setup here for the weekend in just a second. But here's the latest, and this is going to be updated. Let's see, what is it, 9:50? So in about an hour, it'll get updated. This is Tropical Storm Lee. Margot hasn't officially formed yet, but will be off to the east here. We'll likely see Margot form. But Lee, of course, getting all the attention because its intensity forecast, which is the first time since the Hurricane Center has been around, that they issued yesterday a declaration of a tropical depression and a Cat 4 hurricane in the same cone. That has never happened before. That's the reason why it stood out in its records for taking place. But that is still the expectation. This is still going to be a very powerful hurricane. I think that narrative has not been lost. It's all over the media everywhere, right? It's almost a hurricane now, in fact. It's still forecast to be a mid to high level Cat 4, may even go Cat 5. It could go to Cat 5. This would be more toward the weekend and early next week, though, before we would really need to start paying a little more attention to it. Obviously, the concern here is going to be the windward and the leeward islands, whether or not there's some impact, especially around Puerto Rico, and, of course, the Bahamas, to see whether or not there's some impact here. Some of these waves are going to be about 25 to 40 foot, if not bigger, on the wave length on some of these waves. So even if you have a cruise that is scheduled anywhere in the Caribbean, it is going to be a bit rocky with this bad boy coming through there. So just kind of keep that in mind. But the track is crucial on this. Now, typically, strong hurricanes that come from this area do want to turn more than they do head toward the United States. But it's not always that simple. And you see, so far, most of the modeling likes the northwest turn, and most of them keep it north of the islands. The problem is right there. That's almost a week from today. When does that turn try to take place? that is all going to be based on a couple of things. First off, we've got our fronts that are going to be dropping down. We got one low that's going to be moving in as we head into this upcoming weekend that is going to be drifting very close to portions of the Ohio Valley in the northeast part. We have the leftovers of Idalia that are still kind of wandering here in the northern Atlantic. And you've got high pressure that is located right through here in the central Atlantic area. Looks like Mickey Mouse, right? Well, as we advance this, you're going to see how Lee will come into play. It wants to find a way to get around all this mess and get toward the United States. It wants to find a pathway. It's almost like when you're watching the game, like on The Price is Right, when you're watching Plinko and the Plinko chip drops down the board. It's kind of like it's kind of levering down the little spokes to get to the end. This is basically what it's trying to do. It's just trying to find its way to get through the mess and get to the other side. There is a natural wind belt, though, that covers the lower 48 that comes from the west. So it naturally is going to be pushing against Lee to make it turn. But there also are chances that it may not turn as fast as you would like. So for us, we're going to have this low that's going to move in this weekend. It's going to settle very close to this eastern seaboard. The only thing about this that was showing up yesterday is whether or not we would get a lot of cloud cover from it this weekend. Right now, I think mostly cloudy skies are possible, but mainly east of 65. I don't see much of a rain set up at all. So I think we're okay for the weekend. If anything, if the low does not grab a hold of us here this weekend and linger, we will end up with a warmer weekend than expected. Next week, another front comes in. This is a strong one. Here, in fact, there's the rain-snow line. Show up in Canada. Hello, rain-snow line. We've missed you. This is a big piece. This is going to be moving in as we head into about Tuesday of next week. It will likely settle in and press up against whatever's going to happen here with Lee. And I think Lee's got no choice but to begin to make a turn. However, there's one catch here, and I'm not to get down into a rabbit hole on Lee, but if Lee is slower than expected and this low can move by in enough time, Lee would then slow down and may linger a bit and then try to get awful close to New York City and eventually into Nova Scotia. It would get much more of a threat for the northern portion of the eastern coastline if that were to happen. There is still a possibility of that taking place, which would be just a mess, obviously, because you get even a powerful Cat 5 and you take it to the higher latitudes, sometimes they can get even stronger. So it may not be as full-on hurricane as far as organization, but still very powerful storms. So a lot of questions. If you have any travel plans at all in the eastern seaboard over the next week, stay close to the weather forecast. For us, we've got a couple fronts moving through. They're going to keep our temperatures in check. We'll get a little bit of light rain every once in a while, but overall, relatively quiet pattern. The latest outlook from the Weather Prediction Center for the fall is trying to expand the drought back into our area, indicating a dry autumn season. We were looking at those maps a few weeks ago here on the blog where there were hints that would be possible if we end up with a drier scenario or drought scenario. That typically would mean warm afternoons and some cool nights. That is good for fall color. It would actually promote a beautiful fall color, but the dry part would be a bummer. It would really make the color less impressive. So we really want a good mix somehow. Get a little bit of rain, but the warm days and the cool nights, if that is indeed the outlook that we're going to face for the fall season, could end up being a really nice fall setup for fall color. All right. Last year was great. We'll see what happens for this year. But as far as any big-time weather events, we are not the cards for that. The only thing that's somewhat dramatic in our weather in the next 10 days is today's thunderstorm chance, and that's not too bad at all. All right, there you have it, guys. Any questions? Nope. Everyone good? Yes, maybe, possibly. Rain snow line. Yeah, I know. I'm always teasing the rain snow line. Everyone looks good. Hello from Carrollton. Howard A. All right, guys. I appreciate you as always. Hang tight. With the rain chance today, we'll keep you updated. We'll have another update coming up on midday at 11 a.m. I'll see you on the flip side.